Aliens never expected Deathworlders to answer to their distress. Call the Galaxy was silent in this corner of space, except for the quiet hum of the alien convoy gliding along the trade corridor. The ships were ordinary, built to carry goods, supplies, and families from one star system to another. Most of the aliens aboard had never seen danger close. Their worlds were peaceful, and their fleet had never faced a real battle. Commander Threx, the leader of the convoy, scanned the area from his command deck. He was a tall alien with sharp eyes and blue scales that shimmered faintly under the ship's lights. His crew moved efficiently, unaware that the calm of the corridor was about to shatter. "Captain, all systems are green," said his first officer, a smaller alien with silver skin and delicate wings. "We are ahead of schedule. The route is clear." "Good," Threx replied, but his instincts told him otherwise. Something about the emptiness of space felt wrong. He shook the feeling off. Convoys often traveled alone in these sectors. Long periods of quiet were normal. Suddenly, the sensors blinked red. Small readings appeared, faint at first and then growing stronger. Threx frowned. "Unknown ships detected, closing fast, shields up. Prepare for evasive maneuvers." The crew froze for a moment. This region was considered safe. Pirates rarely ventured here, but the blips on the sensors moved with speed and precision. They were not simple raiders, they were hunting. The first ship in the convoy screamed a warning. A beam of energy hit its hull, tearing through it like paper. The alarm screamed across every ship. Families huddled together, frightened. Children cried. The adults had never seen war. Threx ran to the comm panel. "All ships, this is Commander Threx. Form defensive formation. Repeat, form defensive formation." But panic had already begun to spread. The convoy ships were not made for battle. Their engines were slow. Their shields were weak. The attackers struck again, one ship after another. Smoke filled the cabins. Lights flickered. The alien families screamed in terror. Threx's heart pounded. He activated the emergency channels. "Send a distress call. Anyone, please answer. We are under attack." The distress signal shot into nearby space. It carried detailed information about the convoy's position, the attackers, and the number of civilians aboard. But the Galaxy was quiet. No responses came. Hours passed. Some alien species received the signal but ignored it. Fear of the attackers was stronger than hope. Others were too far away to respond in time. Commander Threx watched helplessly as more ships were destroyed. He knew that if help did not come soon, most of the convoy would be lost. Finally, Threx made a choice. The standard channels had failed. The signal had to go beyond known space into the unclaimed regions. Legends whispered that these areas were dangerous. Many species had stories of Deathworlders living there, humans. Most aliens feared the Deathworlders. Stories described them as relentless, strong, and fearless. Ships sent near their regions often never returned, but Threx had no other option. He sent the emergency call anyway. "This is Commander Threx. Unknown species, we are under attack. Civilian convoy is at risk. We request immediate assistance. We send this call into unclaimed space. Please respond if you hear us." The signal sped into the dark expanse of the galaxy. Threx and his crew held their breath. They waited. Hours became long minutes. Minutes became long seconds. Nothing. Then, deep in human-controlled space, a monitoring station received the signal. On the human ship Iron Sentinel, alarms rang. The crew of humans rushed to the bridge, where the captain stood silently, listening. The human captain was a tall man with broad shoulders and sharp eyes. He studied the signal carefully. It was clear, a convoy of alien civilians under attack, families, children, non-combatants, and they were in trouble. The captain did not hesitate. "Set course immediately. Prepare full jump to their location. We are responding." The crew exchanged surprised glances. Humans were not known to respond so quickly to unknown species. Many thought it unusual. But the captain's reasoning was simple. A distress call means someone is in danger. It does not matter who they are. Humans answer distress calls. That was their rule. Back in the alien convoy, panic worsened. Ships drifted in space, their engines damaged. Smoke filled cabins. Some aliens tried to fight back, but their weapons were weak, barely capable of slowing the attackers. A small group of alien engineers worked frantically, trying to repair shields and engines. One of them, a young female engineer named Lyra, kept repeating under her breath, "We cannot die here, we cannot die here." The attackers did not relent. Their movements were precise, calculated. They targeted the weak ships first, striking with devastating energy blasts. Then sensors on Threx's command ship detected something new. A faint blip appeared far away, moving faster than anything they had seen. "Commander, another fleet!" shouted a sensor officer. "Unknown signature, massive energy readings, moving toward us." Threx squinted at the readout. The readings were unlike any known alien species in their records. The size of the ships, their energy output, it was terrifying. And yet there was something different. They were not attacking immediately. "They are coming," Threx said quietly. "But who are they?" Minutes later, the unknown fleet arrived. The alien convoy could barely comprehend what they saw. Ships unlike any they had seen before, huge, dense, armored. Weapons designed to break through the strongest defenses, and yet there was order in their movements. Calm, calculated, the attackers who had been hunting the convoy paused. They scanned the new fleet and hesitated. Something about these ships made them rethink their strategy. A voice came through the damaged communication channels. It was deep and firm. Human, though the aliens could not understand the words fully at first. "Unknown convoy, this is human fleet. We received your call. Assistance is on the way. Stand down." Silence fell. The aliens stared at their screens in disbelief. Did humans really respond? Did these Deathworlders actually come? The attackers looked uncertain. Their previous confidence began to falter. The humans advanced slowly, maintaining formation, careful but unyielding. Their presence alone changed the flow of battle. Threx's crew barely believed it. "Could this really be humans?" one officer whispered. "They are worse than what we feared," Threx said. "But they are here to help, and we may survive because of them." Human ships began to move around the convoy. Small craft escorted the damaged ships. Larger ships formed a protective wall. Their tactics were simple yet effective. They blocked the attackers from reaching the most vulnerable vessels. The alien families on board the convoy could not believe what they saw. They expected monsters. They expected death. Instead, the humans moved with calm precision. They were not reckless. They were not cruel. They were protectors. Lyra, the young engineer, stared at the screen with tears in her eyes. They actually came for us," she said. Commander Threx allowed himself a small smile. For the first time since the attack began, hope returned. The attackers fired one last time, but human shields held firm. Blasts bounced off the armor without causing damage. Then, with precise maneuvers, the human fleet cut off the attackers' retreat paths. The hunters became trapped. "Commander, they are surrendering," a crew member shouted. It was true. The attackers, once confident and aggressive, now faced humans who did not fear them. Their strategy failed. Their intimidation was useless. The alien convoy began to recover. Engines were repaired, shields reinforced, and casualties attended to. Families hugged each other tightly, relief washing over them. Threx took a deep breath. "I never imagined Deathworlders would come. We owe them everything." A human pilot's voice echoed through the fleet. "All civilians will be safe. Follow our guidance. You are not alone." The aliens watched, stunned. These beings, feared and respected by many, had risked themselves for complete strangers. Threx realized that the stories about humans were only half true. They were strong, yes. Fearless, yes, but they were more than that. They were honorable. They acted not for power, not for reward, but simply because it was the right thing to do. The convoy moved slowly behind the protective human fleet. Each alien ship felt the weight of gratitude, relief, and wonder. Threx knew that the galaxy had just changed for them. The fear of Deathworlders shifted into a new understanding. "They are our saviors," Lyra whispered, still staring at the advancing human ships. "And maybe our allies in the future," Threx nodded. He knew this was only the beginning. The humans had arrived when no one else dared to answer. And now, the alien convoy would survive a nightmare that had seemed impossible. As Part 1 closed, the galaxy's silence returned, but it was no longer quiet. Somewhere in the void, a new force had arrived. Humans, the Deathworlders, answering a call that no one else would. And the legends of their strength and courage were only beginning. The attackers had retreated, but the aliens knew one truth. Survival was possible, hope had returned, and a new chapter in galactic history was beginning. One that featured humans, a species the human fleet moved steadily through space, their engines cutting quietly through the void. The convoy of alien ships followed closely behind, protected by walls of shining armor and well-coordinated formations. Commander Threx could not stop staring at the humans. Their ships were massive, but not unwieldy. They were heavily armed, yet every movement was precise. These were not mindless killers. They were warriors and saviors. On the bridge of the human flagship Iron Sentinel, Captain Marcus Kellen watched the alien convoy through the main viewport. He could see the damaged ships, their hulls scorched and smoking. Families crowded inside, many of them huddled in fear. Children's cries echoed faintly through the comm channels. "This is worse than the simulations," said Lieutenant Aria, the tactical officer. "The attackers weren't just raiding, they were hunting them." They intended to destroy the convoy completely. Captain Kellen did not answer. He had faced impossible situations before, but the eyes of helpless civilians always sharpened his focus. "Prepare for arrival. Keep shields at maximum. We are going to bring them through this alive." The humans' smaller craft, sleek and fast, detached from the main fleet. They zipped between the alien ships, forming protective barriers and guiding the damaged vessels along safe paths. Every movement was calculated to prevent collisions, and every weapon aimed precisely at potential threats. Back in the convoy, Commander Threx's crew watched in disbelief. How are they so fast?" muttered one officer. "Our sensors can barely keep up." "They are Deathworlders," Threx replied softly. "Strong, fearless, and skilled beyond any story we've heard." The alien engineers worked frantically to stabilize their failing engines, while medics rushed to the wounded. But even as the humans moved around them, the attackers had not completely withdrawn. From a distance, faint energy beams began streaking toward the convoy. They were smaller, but faster than anything Threx had seen. "Shields holding," shouted Lyra, the young engineer, as she adjusted the power output. "But they're coming again." Captain Kellen had anticipated this. "Deploy interceptors, cover the convoy, and draw fire." The human pilots responded instantly, racing forward with precision. They did not fire recklessly. They aimed to disable the attackers' engines, forcing them to slow down. For the first time, the aliens could see the attackers falter. They were not used to facing resistance like this. In the past, they struck with impunity, counting on fear to paralyze their targets. But the humans were calm, precise, and relentless. "Look at them," Threx whispered. "They do not fear anything, not speed, not firepower, not even death." The human fleet formed a perfect arc around the convoy. The attackers tried to break through, but every path forward was blocked. Small craft swarmed their ships, dodging beams of energy and returning fire with deadly accuracy. A young alien pilot, barely trained for combat, peeked from the command deck. "Commander, are they going to win?" Threx allowed himself a small smile. "Yes, and we will survive because of them." The attackers grew desperate. They fired wildly, hoping to overwhelm the humans. But every strike was met with shields, evasive maneuvers, or precise counterattacks. Human ships moved like predators, striking only when necessary and retreating before taking serious damage. On one of the damaged alien ships, Lyra worked to stabilize the reactor. Sparks flew across the control panel as she adjusted the coolant lines. "We might actually make it," she said, voice trembling with hope. "We might survive this." A sudden alarm rang through Threx's ship. "Sensors detect new energy signatures," reported the officer. "They are massive, moving fast, and coming toward the attackers." The attackers froze. From the distance, huge shapes emerged from faster-than-light jumps. They were bigger than any ship in the human fleet, with thick armor and massive energy weapons. But unlike the attackers, they did not engage immediately. They held back, scanning the battlefield with a measured intensity. Captain Kellen's eyes narrowed. "Looks like they're testing the waters," he said. "Keep formation tight, we protect the convoy." "Let them decide their role." Threx's crew watched in awe. "Could they be more Deathworlders?" someone asked. "Perhaps," Threx replied, "or something even older and stronger, but they are not attacking us, that is all that matters." The attackers, sensing that they were no longer the dominant force, attempted to retreat, but the human fleet anticipated this. Large ships moved forward to cut off escape routes, while fast interceptors surrounded the enemy. "Hold them," Captain Kellen ordered. "We disable, not destroy. We want no unnecessary deaths." The alien convoy felt a strange mix of fear and relief. They were helpless, yet humans were fearless. The humans' presence alone changed the tide of battle. Minutes later, the first attacker ship was disabled. Engines overloaded, systems failing. It drifted silently through space, unable to continue its attack. "Look at them," Lyra said, pointing at the viewport. "They don't panic, they don't rush. They are calm in the storm." Threx nodded. "They are professionals. They act not for glory, but for purpose." One by one, the attackers fell into traps set by the human fleet. disabled, surrounded, and powerless. The aliens began to breathe easier. They had expected death. Instead, they saw skill, courage, and control. Finally, the attackers turned fully to retreat. The humans allowed some to escape, but only after making sure the convoy was safe. They did not chase recklessly. They prioritized the lives of the civilians. The alien crew could hardly believe it. "We thought no one would come," Threx said softly. "We thought we were doomed." Lyra's eyes glistened with tears. "And now we are alive because they came, they saved us." Captain Kellen's voice came through the comm channels. "All ships maintain formation. Civilian vessels move to safe coordinates. Humans will escort you until you reach secure space." The aliens followed the instructions without question. They had never felt so safe. They had never seen anyone fight with such courage and discipline. As the convoy moved, the aliens finally had a moment to look around. Human ships were everywhere, not just protecting but guiding, coordinating, and communicating. Each crew member knew their role. Each pilot knew when to advance and when to hold back. The humans were not just soldiers, they were guardians. For the first time, the alien children stopped crying. They watched the human ships with wide eyes, mesmerized by their size, speed, and power. Even the adults could not hide their amazement. "Do all humans fight like this?" one alien asked. Threx shook his head. "I do not know, but these ones, they are unlike anything we have ever encountered." The human fleet led the convoy through a safe corridor. Damage was assessed, and repairs began on the ships that could still function. Medics went from ship to ship, treating the wounded. For the aliens, it was a new kind of hope. As the hours passed, the attackers disappeared into the void, leaving only silence behind. The humans had not only protected the convoy, they had ensured that survivors would live to tell the tale. Lyra looked at the captain's ship in awe. "They are amazing," she whispered. "I never thought anyone would come for us, and they came." Threx put a hand on her shoulder. "We have much to learn from them. Humans are not just strong, they are clever, brave, and honorable. This changes everything." Even as the convoy reached safer space, Threx realized that the humans' intervention was only the beginning. The galaxy had underestimated them for centuries. Deathworlders were not just fighters, they were saviors, legends, and a force that no one could ignore. "Commander," one of the younger officers asked, "do you think they will leave us now?" Threx shook his head. "I do not think so. They will remain until we are truly safe. That is how they operate. They do not abandon those in need." And indeed, the humans stayed close. They monitored the convoy, coordinated repairs, and made sure that every alien ship was functional. The children laughed for the first time, playing in the halls of the convoy ships while humans ensured their safety. Hours turned into a day, and for the first time since the attack began, the alien convoy could breathe. They were not alone. They were not powerless. They were alive. Commander Threx finally allowed himself to feel hope. "If humans can do this," he said, looking at the fleet, "then perhaps there is a new balance in the galaxy. Perhaps fear is not the only path. Perhaps there is strength in courage, honor, and action." Lyra nodded. "I never imagined it would feel like this. Safe, protected, alive." As Part 2 closed, the alien convoy moved steadily through the galaxy, guided by humans who answered a call that no one else dared to answer. The attackers were gone for now. But the story of survival, courage, and the unexpected arrival of the Deathworlders had only just begun. For the aliens, one truth had become clear. Humans were not just strong, they were extraordinary. And the galaxy would never forget the day the Deathworlders came. The alien convoy moved steadily under the protection of the human fleet. The children aboard the ships were quiet, tired from fear, yet comforted by the humans' presence. For the first time since the attack began, a sense of safety lingered in the corridors. But Commander Threx knew the battle was not yet over. The attackers had retreated, but only to regroup. Their pride had been wounded, their confidence shaken. They would return, stronger and more determined. Sensors on the human flagship Iron Sentinel detected faint movement in the distance. A large cluster of enemy ships was approaching, their energy signatures growing stronger by the second. Captain Marcus Kellen studied the readings carefully. "They're coming back," he said. His voice was calm, measured, but the crew could feel the tension. "Prepare for battle. All ships assume defensive positions around the convoy. Protect them at all costs." The humans moved with precision. Smaller craft zipped between the alien ships, scanning for enemy fighters. Larger ships formed a protective ring, shields at maximum, weapons systems online and ready. Every crew member knew their role. There was no confusion. There was only focus. Commander Threx watched the humans in awe. They do not hesitate," he whispered. "No fear, no doubt, just action." One of the young alien officers, barely trained in combat, muttered, "How can they be so calm?" "They are Deathworlders," Threx replied. "They were born to survive in the deadliest places. Danger is their home. They do not panic because panic is useless." The attackers moved forward, their ships arranged in a formation designed to overwhelm the convoy. Their first wave struck at the perimeter, hoping to break the human defensive line. Energy beams cut through space, lighting up the darkness with deadly brilliance. The humans responded instantly. Interceptors darted forward, weaving through the enemy fire with incredible speed. Each strike was calculated, each maneuver precise. They targeted engines and weapon systems, disabling rather than destroying. They did not want unnecessary casualties. They wanted the attackers neutralized, not annihilated. From the alien convoy, Threx could see the attackers faltering. They had expected an easy victory, but the humans had turned the fight. The attackers' confidence began to crumble. "Look at them," Lyra said softly, watching the viewport. "They don't just fight, they control the battlefield." One human pilot, a young woman named Anna, shouted over the comms, "Target their lead ship, disable their engines, and force them to retreat." In moments, the human fleet executed a perfect maneuver. The attacker's lead ship was hit, engines overloading. Sparks flew across its hull as systems failed. It drifted helplessly in space, unable to continue its assault. The aliens watched, mouths open in disbelief. How can they do this?" one officer asked. "They fight for purpose," Threx said. "Not for glory, not for power, they fight because it is right, because others depend on them." The attackers tried to regroup, but the humans anticipated every move. Each maneuver was countered, each strike blocked. Faster ships cut off escape routes. Heavier ships pushed forward, shielding the convoy from further harm. The humans' coordination was unmatched. Lyra adjusted the energy lines on her ship, keeping the shields stable. "I've never seen anyone fight like this," she said. "Even when we tried to defend ourselves, it was nothing like this." The battle raged, but the humans remained calm. Their strategy was simple: protect the convoy, disable attackers, ensure no one dies unnecessarily. Every movement reflected discipline, intelligence, and courage. Then something unexpected happened. From behind the attackers, additional enemy ships appeared, larger, more heavily armed, and faster than the first wave. They attempted to flank the convoy, hoping to break the human line from behind. Captain Kellen saw the threat immediately. Interceptors split and engage the rear attackers. Larger ships adjust formation to shield the convoy. Focus fire on their engines. The human pilots obeyed without hesitation. They moved like one organism, attacking, retreating, and circling back to protect the convoy. Their speed and precision overwhelmed the new attackers, who were unprepared for such coordination. Commander Threx realized the humans' strength went beyond their firepower. It was their teamwork, their ability to think ahead, their fearlessness. Every move was calculated, every strike intentional. Humans did not panic. They adapted, they endured, and they fought with purpose. In the alien convoy, engineers worked frantically to stabilize systems. Lyra watched the battle unfold on her screen. She could see human ships weaving through enemy fire, striking only when necessary, retreating before damage became serious. She could see their courage, their skill, their honor. "They are incredible," she whispered. "I've never seen anything like this. They are heroes." Threx nodded. "Yes, and they are our heroes." The attackers, once confident, began to falter. Their formations broke. Their movements became chaotic. They had underestimated humans, the Deathworlders, the legends whispered across the galaxy. Now they faced beings who did not retreat, who did not fear, and who would not allow the convoy to be destroyed. Enna, the human pilot, called out, "Keep pushing, they cannot escape." The humans' actions were precise. They did not aimlessly fire. They targeted engines, weapon systems, and navigation arrays. In minutes, the attackers' ships began to fail one by one. Sparks and smoke filled space as systems overheated. Ships drifted helplessly, unable to continue fighting. The alien convoy stared in awe. "We are alive," one officer whispered. "We might actually survive." Captain Kellen observed the battlefield calmly. "Hold formation," he ordered. "Do not engage unnecessarily. Protect the civilians first." One by one, the attackers realized their defeat. They attempted to flee, but the humans had anticipated every escape route. Interceptors blocked the paths. Larger ships pushed forward. The attackers were trapped. Threx's crew could hardly believe it. The humans had turned what seemed like certain death into survival. They had not just protected the convoy, they had defeated a fleet that should have overwhelmed them. The alien children looked out of the viewports in wonder. They had expected monsters. They had expected death. Instead, they saw humans fighting with intelligence, courage, and precision. They saw protectors, guardians, legends in action. Lyra wiped tears from her eyes. "They saved us," she said softly. "Not just with their weapons, with their courage, their discipline, their hearts." The attackers, defeated and demoralized, began to retreat fully. Humans allowed some to escape, ensuring that none of the civilians were at risk. The human fleet did not celebrate. There was no arrogance, no pride, only focus, only duty, only protection of those in need. The alien convoy began to move toward safe space, guided by the human fleet. Engineers and medics worked quickly, repairing damaged systems and treating the wounded. For the first time since the attack began, life inside the convoy returned to normal. Commander Threx allowed himself a rare moment of relief. If humans fight like this for strangers, then the galaxy has underestimated them for too long. Lyra nodded. "They are more than Deathworlders," she said. "They are legends, and now they are our allies." Even as the convoy moved, the humans remained vigilant. They scanned the dark space ahead for threats, coordinated repairs, and ensured that every ship was functional. The aliens could not hide their gratitude. Hours passed. The attackers were gone, but the humans stayed close. They guided the convoy through dangerous areas, teaching the aliens how to navigate safely. The children laughed again. Adults breathed easier. Families reunited. For the first time in days, the alien convoy felt normal. Threx walked through the corridors, observing the humans working alongside alien engineers and medics. Every human moved with purpose, calm and confident. They did not demand respect. They earned it through action. One young officer approached Threx. "Commander, do you think humans always fight like this?" Threx shook his head. "I do not know, but these ones, they are extraordinary, and they will change the galaxy." The convoy continued under human escort. The crew of Iron Sentinel communicated constantly, coordinating repairs and ensuring no ship fell behind. They moved not for glory or recognition, but because it was the right thing to do. As the convoy entered truly safe space, Threx realized something profound. Humans had arrived when no one else dared. They had fought when hope was almost gone. They had saved lives when survival seemed impossible. "They are beyond what we imagined," Threx said softly. "And the galaxy will remember today. We will remember today." Lyra looked at the human ships, now calm but ready for any threat. "They are not just warriors," she whispered. "They are protectors. They are our saviors." Even as Part 3 ended, the humans' presence continued to change the galaxy. Aliens who once feared Deathworlders now saw a species willing to act for others, willing to fight for life, willing to face impossible odds without hesitation. The battle had not only been won, it had been transformed into a story of courage, honor, and hope. And the galaxy would never be the same. The alien convoy drifted through space, its engines humming softly after the fierce battle that had just ended. Smoke still trailed from damaged hulls, but for the first time, the crew felt relief instead of fear. Families huddled together, and children peered out of their windows, curious about the humans who had saved them. Commander Threx moved through the corridors of his flagship. He had never seen anything like what had happened in the last hours. The attackers were no longer a threat. The humans, the Deathworlders of terrifying legend, had defeated them with calm precision, protecting every ship, every civilian. "They are not like any warriors I have known," Threx whispered to Lyra as they walked along a corridor. The young engineer nodded, her eyes still wide with amazement. They cared for everyone," she said. "They didn't fight for pride, they didn't fight for territory, they fought to save us." On the human flagship Iron Sentinel, Captain Marcus Kellen monitored the convoy's progress. Engineers had begun assessing the alien ships, prioritizing repairs that could stabilize power and shields. Medics went from ship to ship, checking the wounded, offering comfort, and teaching the aliens basic medical procedures for survival. "Captain," Lieutenant Arya said, pointing to a cluster of alien ships, "many of them are damaged beyond what our medics can handle." "Should we stay longer?" Kellen studied the convoy. We stay as long as they need. Safety is the priority. Nothing else matters. The humans worked tirelessly. They did not demand payment, recognition, or loyalty. They only asked that the aliens live to see another day. Commander Threx watched as human engineers boarded damaged ships. Their movements were careful, respectful, yet efficient. They repaired engines, rewired systems, and stabilized shields. Aliens observed in disbelief. Their species had never received such selfless aid. A small alien child approached Threx, pointing toward a human engineer adjusting a power conduit. "He is fixing our ship." "Yes," Threx replied, "and he does it because it is right." Lyra smiled. "I never imagined warriors could be like this, not just strong but honorable." Hours passed. The alien convoy slowly regained its ability to move independently. Children laughed as they explored their repaired ships. Families prepared meals. The corridors were no longer filled with panic, but with cautious hope. Commander Threx requested a secure communication link with Captain Kellen. The connection established, Threx's voice trembled slightly as he spoke. "Captain, we do not know how to thank you," he said. "We did not expect anyone to answer our call, especially not humans." Kellen's voice was calm. "You are safe. That is all that matters. Humans answer distress calls. That is what we do." Threx hesitated, then continued. "We have lived with fear of your species for centuries. The stories they told of your strength, yes, but also of your danger. Many feared humans would harm us if they arrived. We never expected this." Kellen allowed a brief pause. "We fight for life. We fight for those who cannot defend themselves. Fear is natural, Commander, but courage is what defines us." The aliens listened in silence, absorbing the meaning of his words. The human captain did not boast. He did not threaten. He only spoke of principles, of honor, and of responsibility. On one of the repaired ships, Lyra worked alongside a human engineer named Torin. Torin explained each step of his work, teaching Lyra how to stabilize the engine, distribute power efficiently, and maintain shields. "You have a strong mind," Torin said. "You can learn fast. Your species has potential more than you know." Lyra blushed. "I thank you." "I want to learn like you," Torin smiled. "Good, but remember, the mind is only useful when paired with courage. You cannot hesitate in moments that demand action." The alien convoy had never experienced teamwork like this. Humans did not separate themselves as superior. They worked alongside the aliens, teaching, guiding, and protecting. Commander Threx began organizing his officers. "We must learn from them," he said. "They are not just warriors. They are teachers, guides, and guardians. We must remember what we see today." Across the convoy, human medics treated the wounded. Families watched, still in awe. Children were given small toys and comforting items by humans, a simple act that meant more than words could express. "Why do they care so much?" asked a young alien pilot to Threx. "They are different," Threx said. "They value life in ways we do not. Strength is not just weapons, it is honor, courage, and protection." The attackers had disappeared, but humans remained vigilant. Their scouts moved ahead, detecting any potential threats. Their fleet maintained a protective perimeter around the convoy, ensuring no danger would approach unnoticed. Commander Threx convened a meeting with his officers. "We have survived," he said, "because they came. We must respect their power and their will. We must learn, and we must not forget this day." Lyra added, "And we must remember their courage. They fought when it was easier to retreat. They acted when others would hide." The aliens began to share stories of the humans' actions. Word spread through the fleet of the calm precision, the bravery, and the selfless courage that saved their lives. Where fear had ruled, respect now grew. Threx sent a message to other nearby systems, sharing what had occurred. The human fleet had proven that legends were true, but only half of the truth. They were not just dangerous. They were honorable. They were protectors. In private moments, Threx reflected on the difference between fear and respect. Fear had driven the galaxy to ignore distress calls, leaving the convoy almost destroyed. But respect, born from understanding courage and honor, had begun to spread. The humans worked through the night. Engines were repaired, hulls reinforced, and shields strengthened. The alien convoy began to resemble its former self. Children played quietly, medics attended the wounded, and families ate together. Humans remained present, not to rule, not to command, but to protect and guide. Captain Kellen observed from the bridge of Iron Sentinel. "We leave only when they are truly safe," he said. "Not a moment before." The aliens had never seen such patience. Most species would have demanded gratitude, loyalty, or obedience. Humans only asked for survival. Threx spoke to Lyra as they watched the stars. They have changed our understanding. Strength is not just weapons, it is courage, skill, and heart. Lyra nodded. They came when no one else would. They acted when hope was gone. They saved us all. By morning, the convoy had regained enough functionality to move independently, though humans continued their escort. The alien crew marveled at the humans' skill, coordination, and selflessness. "Commander," one officer asked, "do you think humans will leave soon?" Threx shook his head. "They will remain until every ship is safe, until every life is protected. That is who they are. That is what makes them extraordinary." The aliens began learning from the humans. Engineers were taught advanced methods to repair and stabilize ships. Pilots observed maneuvers, learning to navigate space more efficiently. Medics adopted new techniques to save lives. Every interaction strengthened trust, respect, and admiration. Lyra paused while learning a new technique from Torin. "I never imagined anyone could teach with such patience," she said. Torin smiled. "Patience is strength. Courage is more than fighting. It is guiding, protecting, and teaching." The alien commander sent another message to neighboring systems. "If you have distress signals, if your species needs help, humans will answer. Today we learn the truth. Legends of Deathworlders are real, but more importantly, their courage and honor are greater than fear." The galaxy began to listen. Stories of the humans' intervention spread quickly. Species that had ignored distress calls for centuries now reconsidered. The idea of humans shifted, from monsters to protectors, from feared to respected. Back on the convoy, families thanked the humans silently. Children waved from windows. Engineers and pilots nodded respectfully. The humans, in return, smiled but said nothing. Their duty was done. Protection was their goal, not praise. Commander Threx gathered his officers one last time before the humans would leave. "We have survived because of them," he said. "We have learned that courage, skill, and honor define a species. Let this day be remembered. Let our people carry this lesson forever." Lyra added, "We feared them. We thought humans would harm us. But now we know they are our allies, our protectors, our hope." Captain Kellen finally gave the order to withdraw. The human fleet slowly moved away, leaving the convoy to continue its journey. But the presence of the humans lingered. Their lessons, their courage, and their honor would remain in the hearts of every alien aboard. As Part 4 ended, the alien convoy moved through space with a new sense of purpose. Fear had turned into respect. Despair had turned into hope. And the galaxy had witnessed the extraordinary power of humans, not only in battle, but in compassion, courage, and honor. The story of the day the Deathworlders answered the call would be told for generations. And every alien who had survived knew one truth: humans were not just strong, humans were legendary.